I am making a Sacred Beast deck profile just because one of my friends had given me the new Uriah art and I immediately wanted to play Sacred Beast again. So I figured this was the best version of the deck I could think of at the moment. But if anyone has any ideas, then let me know. And I'll. And once the new Sacred Beast cards release, I will try to mix them with these cards. I don't think they actually mix very well. But starting off with the monsters, I play 3 copies of Chaos Summoning Beast. Chaos Summoning Beast has 2 effects where you can tribute it, summon one of the 3 Sacred Beasts from your hand, and then you can banish it from your graveyard to be able to add Fallen Paradise from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Next, I play 3 Dark Summoning Beast. Or not Dark Summoning, Dark Beckoning Beast. And Beckoning Beast will let you add a card mentioning the Sacred Beasts from your deck to your hand, except another copy of itself. And then it also gives you an additional normal summon of a monster that has another. Let's see, I actually forget the condition for its additional normal summon. Okay, it gives you an additional normal summon of 0/0 Fiend. That's what it was. Then next, I play 2 copies of Dark Summoning Beast. Dark Summoning Beast has 2 effects, where you contribute it to then special summon one of the Sacred Beasts from your deck. However, you cannot declare attacks this turn. Then it has the effect in the graveyard of being able to banish itself to then add a Sacred Beast from your deck to your hand. Next, I play 1 copy of Uriah, Lord of Searing Flames. Uriah has the effect that they all share the effect of the cannot be normal summon reset. Must first be special summoned by sending 3 of a card type, monster, spell, or trap, depending on which one it is, to the graveyard. And then Uriah gains 1,000 attack for every continuous trap that's in your graveyard. And then Uriah can also destroy or target 1 spell or trap your opponent controls. I do believe it does have to be set. You target 1 set spell or trap your opponent controls, and then that card is destroyed, and your opponent cannot activate that targeted set spell or trap in response to this card's effect. Next, I actually need to read that because it might just be target card can't be activated. Okay, no. Neither player can activate spells or traps in response. That's what it was. Next, I play 2 copies of Haman, Lord of Striking Thunder. Lord of Striking Thunder, like Uriah, requires 3 of a card. Striking Thunder requires 3 spell cards to be attributed to special summon it. And then Lord of Striking Thunder has 2 effects. The first one is when it destroys a monster in battle, your opponent takes 1,000 points of damage. And the second effect is while it's in defense mode, your opponent has to target it for attacks. So if you have a 0 attack Uriah on the field, but you have Haman on the field in defense, your opponent has to attack Haman instead of Uriah. However, it's not a forced attack, so that's not something to be worried about except for Yubel. And then lastly, I play 2 copies of Raviel, Lord of Phantasms. Lord of Phantasms has 2 effects, which I guess the other 2 did too. Just Uriah's effect is also an attack boosting effect. But Raviel has to be summoned by attributing 3 fiends. But the summoning conditions don't matter because usually these are all summoned off of Chaos Summoning Beast. Just gonna say that now. But Raviel requires 3 fiends to summon. And then whenever your opponent normal summons, then you get to summon a phantasmal token to your field. And then once per turn, Raviel contribute 1 monster you control to increase its attack by the tributed monster's attack until the end of the turn. And then the actual last card I play is 1 copy of Raviel, Lord of Phantasms, Shimmering Scraper. Shimmering Scraper has the effect that it cannot be normal summoned reset. Must be special summoned from your hand by attributing 3 monsters. And you can only use each effect of Lord of Phantasms Shimmering Scraper once per turn. Which its effect is you can discard this card and target a Raviel you control. For the rest of its turn, its attack becomes double its current attack. Also can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. And then if this card's in the graveyard, you contribute one monster to return it to your hand. This is mainly in here just be a hand trap for Raviel that will hardly ever be summoned. Because I believe the thing that usually is done with this deck is you'll summon Raviel, tribute something like Haman or a second Raviel to make its attack 8,000. Shimmering Scraper will make Raviel's attack become 16,000, and they can attack everything. And I believe I remember one thing I used to do with the deck was, when it was new, was I would then equip Raviel with the Fairy Meteor Crush, so when it attacks something, that your opponent just loses. The next, the engine I mixed the deck with, I'm trying to actually really like, is I play 3 copies of Hecahands Ibtel. Hecahands Ibtel, like all the illusion monsters in this deck, share the effect that when they battle, neither monster can be destroyed in that battle. But Ibtel has 2 effects where you can reveal in your hand, shuffle it back into the deck, and then summon another Hecahands monster from your deck. And then, if this card's sent to the graveyard, you can target a Hecahands monster that's in your graveyard and special summon it. Then I play 3 copies of Nightmare Apprentice. Nightmare Apprentice will let you discard a card to special summon it from your hand. And then when Nightmare Apprentice is summoned, you can add an illusion monster from your deck to your hand, and you can use each effect of Nightmare Apprentice once per turn. Next, I play 3 copies of Hecahands Yodel. Hecahands Yodel does the exact same thing as Ibtel, but rather than summoning a monster, you get to add a Hecahands spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And when discarded, Ibtel will let you target a Hecahands spell or trap in your graveyard and set it to your field. Next, I play 2 copies of Hecahands Gygus. Hecahands Gygus will let you excavate the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, summon a monster that was excavated, and then shuffle the remaining cards back into the deck. The dumb part, the part of this deck I think is dumb, is that when they steal a monster from your opponent, its effects aren't negated. So if you're in a mirror match and you get a Nightmare Apprentice from your opponent, you can summon the Nightmare Apprentice and then use its effect. Oh yeah, and then Gygus, as well as the 3 copies of Hecahands Godos, and the 1 Hecahands Brius, all share the effect that when your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, except during the draw phase and damage step. I think it was. It might just be except during the draw phase. Let's see. Yeah, except during the draw phase and damage step. Then they can summon themselves. And then Hecahands Godos is during your opponent's main phase. As a quick effect, you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to your field, however, the monster you summon will have its effects negated until the end of the turn. And then Brius, I feel like, is the worst of the 3, but I still like it. As Brius will let you look at one random card in your opponent's hand, and if it's a monster, you can special summon it to your field. So the reason I like Brius is because even if it doesn't hit a monster, you still get some kind of hand knowledge that your opponent has. And then that's it for the monsters. For these spell cards, there are 4 one-ofs, being 1 Hecahands Tartarus. This card has 2 effects, but really it's only in here to banish Hecahands monsters from your hand, field, or graveyard in order to fusion summon. And then you can also banish monsters your opponent owns that you control as if they're Hecahands monsters. Next, I play 1 copy of Dimension Fusion Destruction. This just lets you fusion summon, or you banish from your hand, field, and or graveyard fusion materials that are mentioned on a Phantasm fusion monster, and then you summon that fusion monster from your extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions. You take no battle damage from attacks involving it, and then can't remember the rest of the effects. And then if you control Uriah, if you control any of the 1 Sacred Beasts, Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. That was its last part. Next, I play 1 copy of Cerulean Skyfire. This card has the effect that where to special summon Hamon, Lord of Striking Thunder, using its own procedure. Then you can also use face down spell cards you control, which that doesn't matter. Its main effect is actually, what was it? Remember, okay. Okay. Its effects are when an opponent's spell or trap would resolve while you control Hamon, Lord of Striking Thunder, in attack position, you can switch Hamon to defense position to negate that effect. And then if one of the 3 Sacred Beasts is sent to the graveyard that turn, you take no damage for the rest of the turn. Next, I play 1 copy of Fallen Paradise. Fallen Paradise makes it so that your Sacred Beasts cannot be targeted by or destroyed by card effects. And then, once per turn, if you control any of those Sacred Beasts, or Armatile, as it extends those protections to Armatile as well, then you can draw 2 cards. I really like this card in the deck because it's a once per turn Pot of Greed that protects the Sacred Beasts. The only other effect I wish it had was it can't be destroyed or banished by an opponent's card effect while you control a Sacred Beast. That's the only other effect I wish it had. Next, I play 3 copies of the Hidden Hecahands. The Hidden Hecahands has the effect that when it's activated, you can send 1 other card on your field to the graveyard, to then add a Hecahands monster from your deck to your hand. Then, if you sent another card to the graveyard, then you can also set a Hecahands spell or trap from the deck. And then the Hidden Hecahands also has the graveyard effect of being able to banish itself to make your opponent draw a card and then discard a card. Which that only exists for Gygus, Brius, and Godos. Next, and lastly for the spells, I play 3 copies of Opening of the Spirit Gates. Opening of the Spirit Gates has the effect that when this card is activated, add 1 of the Sacred Beasts or a monster that mentions them from your deck to your hand. And then once per turn, if you control a level 10 or higher, or level 10 monster, not level 10 or higher, has to be level 10, then you can add a continuous spell from your graveyard to your hand, which in this deck is either Cerulean Skyfire or another copy of itself. But then its final effect lets you discard a card to then special summon a 0/0 fiend from your graveyard. Which there is actually a 2-card combo that gets you to 2 of the Sacred Beasts, as well as drawing 2 cards. And you just have to open either Opening and Dark Beckoning, or you either have to open Opening or Beckoning with either Chaos Summoning or Dark Summoning Beast. And then for the traps, I play 1 copy of Yawdal Hecahands and 1 copy of Ibal Hecahands. Yawdal Hecahands, or these 2 do the exact same thing, just different cards. Where Yawdal is a negate for your opponent's spell or trap cards, and then you can set it to your field after destroying it, and then Ibal does the same with monster effects, and then after you destroy it, you can set it to your field. And then lastly for the traps, I play 3 copies of Awakening of the Sacred Beasts. Awakening of the Sacred Beasts has the effect that it gains the following effects in sequence depending on how many Sacred Beasts you control with different names. Where if it's 1 or more, each time your opponent normal special summons a monster, you gain life points equal to the attack of that monster. At 2 or more, you negate the effects of all monsters your opponent controls. Or my bad, you negate the activated effects of all monsters your opponent controls. And then, if it's all 3, then any monster that any monster sent to your opponent's graveyard is removed from play instead. And then once per turn, Awakening of the Sacred Beasts will also, if you control a level 10 monster, will you add a continuous trap from your graveyard to your hand. And that is it for the main deck. Although I was thinking about playing Tomb Keeper with Uriah just because the deck uses like 7 or 8 continuous traps, and sometimes you can. I just want to do it just to be funny with it, but it's just a thing. For the extra deck, I play 1 copy of Salmon Great Almirage. This card is in here just for that 2-card combo I mentioned, as it's usually quite you normal summon Dark Beckoning, grab Opening. You'll activate Opening, grabbing either Dark Summoning or Chaos Summoning, depending on which one you don't have already. You will then use the additional normal summon to summon Chaos Summoning Beast, link off the Dark Beckoning for this, and then you'll use Opening to discard the Dark Summoning Beast to bring back Dark Summoning, tribute the Dark Summoning Beast to grab or to summon any of the 3 Sacred Beasts. Then you can banish it to add another one from your deck to your hand, and then you can tribute the Chaos Summoning Beast to summon the second one from your hand, and then you can use its graveyard effect to add the field spell. You'll then activate the field spell and draw 2 cards. And with that, you have 5 cards in your hand, and you already have 2 of the Sacred Beasts in play. Next, I play 1 copy of IP Masquerena. IP Masquerena has the effect of allowing you to, during your opponent's main phase, link summon using this card you control. A link monster that's link summoned using this card can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Then I play 1 copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight has the effect that when it's link summoned using a fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link monster, you can target 1 card on the field or in the graveyard, banish it, but you cannot attack directly for the rest of the turn. And then SP Little Knight also has the effect that when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can target 2 monsters on the field with at least 1 monster you control, banish both until the end of the turn. For these monsters, I play 1 copy of Dampier Vampire Sheridan and 1 copy of the Zombie Vampire. These are both in here because you can, if you use monsters your opponent owns that you control that have levels, you can treat them as a level needed for this monster's summon. Sheridan has the effect that you can detach a material to then target one. I believe it targets 1 monster your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard. And then once per turn, if a monster is sent from the field to the opponent's graveyard by a card effect, including its own, then you can detach another material to target that monster and special summon it to your field. The Zombie Vampire has the effect that while it's on the field, it and monsters that are special summoned from the graveyard cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. I believe that's protection at least. Let's see. Where is it? Neither player can target this card. Okay, so it makes so that it and monsters summoned from the graveyard that you control cannot be targeted by card effects by either player. And then it has the effect that once per turn you can detach a material. Both players send the top 4 cards of the deck to the... I believe it was 4. Yeah, so it's 4 cards from their deck to the graveyard. And then you can summon 1 monster sent to the graveyard by this effect. Next, I play 1 copy of number 11 Big Eye. That just lets you target a monster your opponent controls and target a monster your opponent controls and take control of it. Then I play 1 copy of Dracosac. Dracosac lets you detach materials, summon 2 Mega Phantom Beast tokens. And then while you control a Mega Phantom Beast token, this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. And once per turn, you tribute a Mega Phantom Beast monster, target 1 card on the field, destroy that target. However, and then this card cannot attack the turns to use that effect. Lastly, for the Xyz, I play 1 copy of Typhon. Typhon can be Xyz summoned by using the strongest monster in your field, your choice of Ty, during turn, either during the turn or the turn after your opponent has summoned from the extra deck 2 or more times. While it's on the field, monsters with neither player can activate the effects on monsters with 3,000 or more attack. And then once per turn, you can detach material, target 1 monster or target 1 card on the field and return it to the owner's hand. For fusion monsters, I play 3 copies of hecahands Jowza. Hecahands Jowza can be summoned by tributing an illusion monster and a monster you control owned by your opponent. And then once per turn, it'll let you add a hecahands card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And you can only use that effect of hecahands Jowza once per turn. Next, I play 2 copies of Hecahands Xeno. Hecahands Xeno has the effect of, during the main phase, as a quick effect, you can look at 2 random monsters in your opponent's extra deck, summon one of them to your field. And then, if this card is destroyed by... it has to be destroyed. Let's see. If you use some card you own and control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect. Okay, yeah. So it has to be destroyed by an opponent's card effect under your control. And then it gets a non-target take control of as many monsters your opponent controls as you want. You can only use each effect as Xeno once per turn. Then lastly, I play 1 copy of Armityle the Chaos Phantasm, and 1 copy of Armityle the Chaos Phantasm Phantom of Fury. Phantom of Fury has the effect that when it's fusion summoned, you can summon it to your opponent's field, and then I forget how it works. But the main thing of what it does is it'll banish your opponent's field and then let you summon Armityle the Chaos Phantasm. Okay, you summon it, then you activate its effect to give it to your opponent, and due to its own effect, because the control field has changed, it banishes all cards on its controller's field, and then lets its owner summon Armityle the Chaos Phantasm from the extra deck. Speaking of, Armityle the Chaos Phantasm has the effect that during your turn only, it gains 10,000 attack, and then it cannot be destroyed by battle, and then that's pretty much it. Just it can't be destroyed in battle during your turn only, it gains 10,000 attack, but when summoned off of the... Usually if this is being summoned, you're winning that turn. But that's it for my Sacred Beast Hecahands deck profile. If you have any ideas of decks like to see be made in the future, decks like to see face each other, or any ideas for improving this deck, feel free to comment down below. I always read the comments, and thanks for watching.